1972 work called Famine, Affluence and Morality. So this is a major piece in the whole discipline of applied ethics, and it's written by Peter Singer. And let's look at some background. So this is the man himself, born in 1946, still going strong at 77. He is mostly known as a moral philosopher. Says a lot. He says a lot about how we are supposed to, treat animals. He is an animal rights activist as well. He advocates for animal rights, and he is a major figure in applied ethics. And he's a philosopher, teaches philosophy in Princeton University as well. And so let's go for some context in the paper. So East Pakistan in 1971. So back in the day, we knew 1971 that civil war between the West Pakistan and East Pakistan. So this was before India helped liberate Bangladesh, and Bangladesh is prone to poverty, constant cyclones, and now an even more dangerous civil war on the horizon. A lot of people have been destitute, and approximately 9 million refugees were affected. So what Singer tried to tell at the start of his paper is that everyone knows that this is happening, but their view toward it is quite narrow. So in that he told that the minimum amount required for their sustenance for at least 6 months for the people who have become destitute due to these factors is 464 million pounds. But the overall money given is too minuscule, as you can see here. And so he tells that we need to up this aid. And so at that time of writing, this was a major emergency. It's not like after this emergency there is nothing else. There is still famine happening. There is still global poverty that lurks around. So at that time, this was the context with which he started. So let's say how he connects the three terms famine, affluence, and morality. Let's first take a look at what he tries to say, what famine, affluence, and morality generally means. Famine, it generally means that as I have discussed earlier, as I said earlier, that people literally starve to death due to not getting basic food. And then affluence means being fundamental needs fulfilled and in excess of it. Your all fundamental needs are on track. You have good food, you have a shelter, you have everything good, and you have in excess of it. And then morality is basically obligations, actions, conduct from the within. So we understand morality like this, but Singer says that it not only involves the welfare of oneself, but the others as well, where you should help others as well. That is his idea of morality. So he kind of says that if you're a person from a well-off place, having all basic needs satisfied, and you should use that excess to aid, to give it to the people who are less excess of it, who don't have their basic needs sorted. And that should be the major thing that you should do. That should be obligatory. So if he kind of, you could say, that indirectly says that if you aren't giving these people the money, then you are kind of doing something wrong, something bad. So let's go to the next slide. And he kind of, so this moral implication is what he tries to imply, what he tries to convey to us. So it goes like this: the way how people from relatively affluent countries look at emergencies in general cannot be justified. So he says that the way you, us, our neighbors, friends, family, we all see at emergencies like famine, poverty, civil war, the repercussions of the civil war, how much impact it will have on people. So the way we look at it, it's totally wrong. It's like he tells us that we are some Satan. That's how he implies. And the next point, indeed the whole way we look at moral issues, our moral outlook, our moral conceptual scheme, it needs to be altered. So what conceptual scheme does he want to change? Our morality. So to further explain or expand this particular implication, I am quoting a passage from his paper. So it goes like this. So because giving money is regarded as an act of charity, it is not thought that there is anything wrong without giving, with not giving. Sorry. The charitable man may be praised, but the man who is not charitable is not condemned. People do not feel in any way ashamed or guilty about spending money on new clothes or a new car instead of giving it to famine relief. Indeed, the alternative does not occur to them. This way of looking at the matter cannot be justified. So what is the alternative? So the alternative, he says that the extra money you have, the extra money that you go and get yourself new clothes, go get yourself a new car, that extra money, that has to be deviated towards something important, that is famine relief. And let's be honest, in general, we never think like this. Has anyone thought like this when you're going to buy a new shoe, a new car, a new clothes? You think, oh, there may be someone in South Sudan that may be struggling, that is in need of my help. Am I doing wrong? So, in that sense, this statement is quite radical in the discipline of Peter Singer. So, he outlines a 4-step argument to fortify his thesis. So, this first one is the most controversial one. It talks about a general, broad claim. Let's go. So, if it is in our power to prevent something very bad from happening without thereby sacrificing anything of comparable moral importance, we ought morally do it. So, mainly talks about 3 or 2 things. So, first of all, if it is in our power, if we can do something very bad from happening, so that is one claim, very bad, one category, and the next category is without thereby sacrificing anything of comparable moral importance. So he talks about the sacrifice, which is in comparative or relative to the thing is not much of importance or significance. Then the second one goes like this. Suffering and death from lack of food, shelter and medical care and other sources of suffering, disability and death are very bad. So it is, you can't go against it, it's not uncontroversial. It's just says bad things, examples of bad things. So it's kind of true. So the third one, the luxuries on which we spend money are not of moral significance. Even this is kind of true. The luxuries that we spend, they are really not of moral significance when you have, something else. And the fourth one is by donating to relief agencies like UNICEF, Oxfam, we could prevent hunger, disease, and other sources of suffering, disability, and death. And he concludes, hence, we must morally donate the money we spend on luxuries to famine relief. So, you're going for luxuries, going for a new dress, your old dress, it's still there. I mean, it's not that bad, you can still wear it. It may have some torn parts, it's worn out, but still, in compared to the new one, it's not that it's bad, but it still works. Same thing with the car. Even in this sense, buying a coffee from a cafe, even that's considered kind of like vile by Peter Singer. So this is the conclusion that we must morally donate the money we spend on luxuries to famine relief. So this seems very persuasive and quite radical in the sense that we never think about this. So there was a video supposed to be there. So I tried here, but the system got turned off. It didn't respond. So I'll just show it in my laptop. Can everyone see this? Yes or no?
Yes.
So you've got yourselves a new shoe, and you're going to a meeting, the friends meet, and you're chilling, sunny, it's good. Then you suddenly see that there is a shallow pond and the child is surviving, drowning to death, then you think, oh, you can easily come in, you can easily, do it, but you don't want to, you don't want the shoes to be ruined or get muddy. But in comparability of this thing to the child drowning, that's obviously first thought. Go save the child. That is our first thought. So that is what he does. But at the cost of getting his new shoe, getting muddy. So this is the example that Peter Singer tries to say to again fortify his argument. We must normally donate the money we spend on luxuries to family relief. So if you can do this, this is the example. Everyone got this? Should I read it? I'll just read it out. So if I'm walking past a shallow pond and see a child drowning in it, I ought to wade in and pull the child out. This will mean getting my clothes muddy, but this is insignificant, while the death of the child would presumably be a very bad thing. So as I showed in the example, you go past, you see this child drowning, and you want to help, but when you use shoes, it may get muddy, it may get ruined. But that purchase, that $200 shoe, it's least botherable when a life of a person comes into the picture. So Peter Singer asks us, so if you can help a person life like that, why not a same age group of that child? Why not you help that person who is deprived of basic medical needs and is in need of a malaria net halfway around the world? So he asks us, he taunts our moral thought. Can you do it? And here says, so if one can save a child's life in this scenario, why not save a child in a similar situation somewhere else? So that's his take. So that's the main example that he shows off to substantiate his claim. So when thinking, so he takes this example and abstracts it and connects it to this first claim. He takes to this general claim. So when we are converting this example to this claim, we will mostly get two major differences, two sort of irrelevant cases. Can anyone think of it? Let's do a storming session. See, he is basically asking this example. Everyone got it, right? Yes. Okay, you got it. He is trying to convert this to here. If it is in our power to prevent something bad, something very bad from happening, without thereby sacrificing anything of comparable moral importance or significance, we morally ought to do it. So, in our power, we are tall, we can go to the lake, save the child. Sacrificing anything of comparable moral importance, the shoe, right? So, no differences. Any difference pops up other than the scholars? Yes, you already know. Let's try to critically analyze this. 5 more seconds. Alright. I got saved, or else it would have been a bit hard. So, as far as I know, and even he has written in this paper that there are two main differences. One is the proximity. So the proximity in the sense that here we are just near. We can just in one swoop help that child. Whereas the child is somewhere, we even don't know how to help him. So Singer says that this distance issue, proximity issue, used to be a difference because say several hundred years ago, to know something is happening, it used to take us several years or even months to know about it. So it kind of defeats the purpose because we can't help, we don't have the time to help at that time. But now, in this scenario, you can know what's happening there in another country, which is family, and we will still have time to do something about it. So in that sense, he tries to refute the proximity theory. What I would like to again ask him is that, thanks to George Baya, because he also highlighted that thing, that usually us people, we are not robots, we are emotional beings. If someone murders someone in front of me, I'll be shocked. I'll have that PTSD kind of vibe. Whereas, say in America, if someone gets shot, I don't care less. I just see it as a form of big news. That's it. So Peter Singer says that that really doesn't make a difference, because that's the kind of moral standard that he expects people to hold to. So the other relative relevant difference is that the others. So millions of other people in the same position can help. Unlike in the concept example. So let's put the people. I come here, I come from class and I tell, good morning. So while I was coming to the presentation, I saw this child drowning. So whoever had to wade in, save the child, had to get their clothes muddy. Then you would ask me, Kishan, your clothes aren't muddy. You're a monster. I was like, oh, chill. There are other people. Then you guys would have asked, like, okay, so they help. No, they didn't help. They can more about their things. You would be flabbergasted, man. Jeez. So that's what he tries to say. The mere presence of others does not make it plausible or reasonable for one to do nothing. There may be others, but what are the chances that they will help? So the obligation lies on us to give it to belief A and like that. So these are two major criticisms, and now I'll be criticizing the conclusion of the argument where
This one, symbol.
this one
Yeah.
or this one.
Anything.
Top.
So yeah, the conclusion is that giving to charity is morally required. So we are going to criticize that. Yeah. So the first one is that Singer's argument only holds short-term solution. Instead, systematic change should be emphasized. So you give it to charity, and one day, okay, the person will get food. But what's the guarantee that next day he'll get food? Maybe next week, what's the guarantee that he'll get food? Maybe say he has a child, but the situation is still like that. Even that child won't get food. So what's the guarantee? So we should give importance to the structural change and emphasize the systematic change. So, and another one is some criticisms. It can affect the economy. Say, you all know H&M Zudio, right? No, you guys don't know. No H&M, no Zudio.
Now, when you talk to people who do not know, if you rush, you know the fact, you don't know. So you have to.
No, sir, like H&M Zudio is like.
No, I understand that. Not everybody should know.
Yeah. True. So we know H&M Zudio, they are MNCs that work in garments, and their garments go all around the world, mostly in Bangladesh and South Asian countries, and Vietnam as well. And so say we have this extra money, and we allocate, instead of getting this, spending it on clothes, extra clothes that we is a luxury to us. If we deviate that and give it to famine relief, what will happen to the people that's working on getting this garment, maybe tailored, maybe manufactured? What will happen to those people? Even their livelihood will be affected. Their whole economic levels would go down. And another one is that by, let's say, let's take this Singer's thing for granted and follow him, and we give.
Guys, switch off your phone.
Well, ma'am, that's a luxury. Where was I? Yeah, by giving it, we may end up like the person in Bangladesh in any famine. So that's a bit implausible. So, he kind of says like, so he puts up a different argument that, back there he didn't have an answer. Now he has become, that is Peter Singer, he has become much more realistic and he tells the situation where you have this business code, and without this business code, it will definitely hinder your chances of getting new business deals. So that will in turn hurt you. So it's better to have the business code and then share some of the income that you get and give it to family. And the next is obviously the inefficiency of organizations or doubt over organizations' work, that they will make truly a difference. Well, thanks to Peter Singer, he says there are other organizations that supervise these organizations using evidence and using their data that the relief organizations give, and make a wholesome illustration of where one can give aid so as to be more effective. So, kind of refutes this argument. And if you go to say World Food Program, United Nations, UNICEF, Child Education Fund, and all these organizations have a transport portal where you can check what they have did, what is the situation now. But then again, you can be a skeptic and even doubt over this argument. That's possible. And more criticism continue. So one of the major things that people or philosophers say to reject Singer's argument is that family relief is kind of like a small part of poverty, right? So governments should be held responsible or accountable for family relief. So here, obviously, Singer accepts that governments shouldn't do anything. They should also do. We should lobby them. We should hold them accountable for their works and family relief. So, but there an interesting thing he says that if no one gives if no one gives aid to family relief privately, then the government may think that the people are uninterested. So it will kind of disincentivize the government to escape its responsibility of global poverty or family relief. And the conclusion, just seems too demanding. For this, when I came here, I bought some new clothes, so I had to take that off. When I came here, I bought a new vehicle. So according to Singer's conclusion, I should just some 20,000 rupees. I should allocate that to maybe relief fund or somewhere here in NGO to donate it. Then I would just have to come walk every day. And if I had to do this presentation, I had to start from 10:15 from my hostel. So that kind of is too demanding, and it makes myself as an individual quite inefficient. So again, Singer just goes to the argument. He asks, I reached this conclusion with valid arguments, valid premise. And this first premise holds credibility. And he tells that it's kind of a influencing factor there. It's like a cultural norm where we don't look at charity as something something we have had to do. Like it's not a must. So he says that it's just a cultural construct. It's how you see things, then we should just work to change this notion. And so these are the criticisms in brief. So what have we learned? I would like to mention this new social movement called Effective Altruism. It was started by a couple of scholars in Oxford. So after reading this particular paper, there has been like over 50 years ever since this paper was released, and people genuinely got interested in this, and there is this one individual called Chris, and he even donated a kidney because he could. So that's the amount of reach that this paper has. So this paper gave birth to a movement called effective altruism, which tries to benefit the needy, emphasizing factors like evidence and reason. And this is what sub-organizations give that I told you. So you can, if you give money to these top charities, it will be 100% effective. This will also be effective, but they haven't shown any data to fortify their stance. And so, what do we learn from this Peter Singer's paper? As far as I am concerned, I'm just a student, so I still haven't started earning my income. So, small things, right? We have to do small things, like incorporate generosity. We should be considerate in all aspects of our life. For example, I was coming here, I saw someone who needed a lift. I could have well just drove past him, but I gave him a lift and can go a long way. It made a positive impact in his life, and that in turn makes me a bit happy. And even in our class, there are people without non-philosophical background. So for people like me with philosophical background, I should go in my way and help those people to clarify doubts in philosophies. And this is the whole argument. In a nutshell, Singer asks us to change our moral outlook, just reflect ourselves. Are we doing something right? How much can we give a positive impact in the world through our small life? And he wants to change our moral conceptual schemes. So with this, I conclude my critical analysis, my presentation.